Mark Bentley here. I'm going to talk to you today about investigating a suspect online, looking at passive OSINT, looking at the tools available. I'll give you the opportunity to subscribe to my tools website with about 2,000 free tools on. I've curated it over the last 20 years. I'm an intelligence officer and investigator, cyber investigator, having 20 plus years experience in the field at the National Crime Agency, the Metropolitan Police, at child protection agencies and other law enforcement agencies that I act as a consultant to. Today, the webinar is going to concentrate on what we have, the pivots we have when we are investigating a suspect online, a walkthrough. I will be alluding to operational things that I have done in the past and that I am currently working on with collaborations with investigation units, but obviously for privacy reasons, I can't actually show you the details of that without their permission. So I'll be doing a pseudo run-through, but the run-through is exactly the same, and I will allude to that. So, no further ado, we'll get on to the slides. And we're going to look at investigate. Now, for this is lawful use only. I'm not going to allude to hacking or bypassing passwords or looking at private information unless it's been agreed upon by the user through cookies and through terms and conditions that they didn't read, that information is available. I'm going to run through a traditional investigation and talk about operational security and the risks involved in that. This is for lawful use only, and this is meant as an educational tool. So this is a quick look at me. I was a police detective in the Metropolitan Police, National Crime Agency, CEOP command for the child protection, and I am an author and I speak at conferences, and I actually have run a company that does open source training for law enforcement, government, military and investigators around the world. And I come to you and I do open source, passive open source, traditional searching. We're going to do a comparison today with that and with online aggregators. So without further ado, let's get to it. Operational security and collection of data. So the first thing we're going to look at is think about the operational security when you are doing open sourcing because of crawlers, because of pixel beacons and other things that are coming into your machine. You've got to accept when you do that, that it can be seen by third parties. So we can do things in our operational security like VMware, VPNs. They're not waterproof. They're not completely and utterly fixable and waterproof in every way. So we have to accept that risk. Or we can use things like aggregators and use SSL links into a private link in that way. So when we think about the operational collection of data, the environment, we've got to think about that. Those of you who've done my course will know that we can use a lot of add-on tools. And if you wish to reach out to me at the end, I'll give you a list of add-on tools for Firefox to make Firefox very, very secure. You may use Norton, Epic, Brave, one of those platforms. There's Opera is really good as well, especially for mobiles. If you're going to do open sourcing on mobiles, we found that the most secure was Opera. You can go into the terms and conditions of Opera and the settings, and you can set do not track and basically VPN it or proxy my searches. So have a think about that. Just while I talk about those things very quickly, I'm going to mention that in collaboration with UserSearch, we're going to do a series of about 12 to 14 webinars, one a month for the next 12 to 14 months. And each month we'll be choosing a different topic. So this week is a general one. We're going to talk about general searching and the search techniques that I picked up when I worked for the National Crime Agency and Metropolitan Police, stuff like that. Then phase 2, of course, is the expansion and specification and looking for corroboration. when you do open sourcing, you have to look at the item that you have, and then you have to corroborate it or with other things. Now, if you're law enforcement, you might have records that you're able to pull up and do a corroboration on that. But we're talking about general open source searching here. So I'm going to have a look at that and the cross-referencing. You can't rely on something on the internet just because you see it. And that'll become abundantly clear when I start doing live searches in a couple of minutes. And then, of course, at the end, we have to do evaluation and analysis. So we've been to 100 websites. It's taken us 5 hours. We've got all the information and we pull it together. And then we've got to use a software tool that's available, similar to i2, that type of thing, and a Kappa, and use that to analyze the data. So one data point, a pivot point is what we call it, and we get that pivot point. It's an email, it's whatever, and we then got to confirm it and make sure that it relates to the subject. Some open source tools will give you everything, and it's quite time consuming and laborious to go through all that stuff. And then you've got to assess it, which is the analysis part of it. Pivot, verify, assess. So we look at these and we move between the different identifiers. We manage to compare those, and then we've got to do an assessment on the value of that. So we start off with a point, don't we? We start off with a point, a name, email, phone number, username. We do that, and we look at the value of the information that comes back. Now, if you as an investigator, this was a phrase that I was told many years ago, and I stand by it today, and that is, as you as an investigator, if you look at something and you accept that everything on the internet is uncorroborated, not usable, not actionable, or is in fact false when you see it, that's a good place to be. It's not paranoia, it's just being risk positive about, before I do something with this, I need to ensure that this is accurate. So as I said to you before, I'm going to allude to some cases during the presentation and the practical I'm about to do, but I'm going to use my details for this. So because there's no legal issues with that. So you've got your suspect's picture. This is typical, isn't it? You've got a suspect's picture, you've got an email, you've got a cell phone number, that type of thing. You're starting off with that pivot point. Nobody starts off with nothing. You start off with something. Could just be a username or whatever. And you look at this and you go, right, okay, what are the pivot pathways that we can do on this? And you see them listed here. We look at carrier lookups for the phone number, and we look at the pivot breach databases for the email address, and then go and have a look at those. So now it's multi searches. So I've got an email. I'm going to do lots of multi searches on this. I'm going to look at different places. You've got the photo. The typical one is you go to Google Lens. That's the big one, isn't it? You stick it into Google Lens, you check it for metadata and EXIF data, and you stick it into Google Lens, and then you go and have a look at other things. There's bolt-ons to search engines that you can use that do multi-searches, like search by image. If you go to search by image, which is an add-on to Firefox, you can click on that, and within 2 clicks you can search about 8 or 9 of the biggest databases in the world for an image. But Google Lens will do facial recognition to a point, but because of their legal framework and because they're slightly risk averse with giving you the wrong information, stuff like that, they're very difficult to use. Now, the other thing is, if you use AI, you go, well, I'll just use AI, and that gives hallucinations. Now, hallucinations are where you do a search, and this can be in the form of words, or it can be an image. You give a hallucination which says, this is the person. I'll prove that to you in a second. So we're going to use my data to look at this. Acquire, back it up, corroborate. So we're going to look at these, make sure it's the right name, the right target, stuff like that. And then we're going to have a look at, you've got to think about using open source browsers. They all have to make money. They all scrape. Then you've got other apps that are going into that browser through the back door and having a look. If you go and use my favorite tool is a tool called XNetStat from Fresh Software. If you download it for free and have a look, it'll show you who's coming into your machine and reading what you're doing. Try it on your machine at work and see what's coming into your machine. Those of you with an Apple machine, you go to the command dialog, the CMD dialog, and you put in NETTOP, NetOp, and that gives you a list of what's coming in and having a look in your machine. So we've got to think about the footprint as well. So you've got an email. How many searches do you do on email? Well, on my tools website, which I'll give you access to later on today, is I've got about 60. So if you want to get all the jigsaw pieces to the jigsaw to see the picture on the puzzle, you've got to try and use as many as you possibly can to get a spread that you can. Now that's time consuming. Realistically, an email could take you 3 or 4 hours, just an email, to do those searches, okay? Because you've got to build that picture up. You need to ABC. You need to make sure that it is running as accurate as possible. Well, let's have a run of some searches. So I'm going to start off with an email, and we're going to have these are the usual people you will go to. Have I been pawned? Email Sherlock, Hull, He, Hunter, Epios, and you go to those searches and have a look to see what they come up with, and then you've got to put them together and analyze them. Let's go and have a look at my email here. So I'm just going to share my screen here. Just give me a second. Here we go. Okay. So we're going to have a look at an email. So I'll try Epios. And it's an OSync tool for emails and for phone numbers. So I'm going to put an email address in here. I'm going to do a search on my email and see what it comes up with. That does not belong to the group. Okay, so I'm going to do a search. I'm going to go to Epios, do a search. This is my usual, as an investigator, my usual one to look at. So I've got, have I been pawned? There's 2 results come back here. We've got, have I been pawned, which is really useful. Dropbox, Online, Spambot, Canva, and Zynga. And we've also got Google account in my name. Now, it does give you some stuff in there. You've got the Google Calendar, Google Links. If my Google Calendar isn't locked down, you'll see what I'm doing. Google Archive, and the maps will also give you reviews, which is really useful as well. So Email Sherlock. Now, Email Sherlock is a paid program, but they give you a free shot. They give you a free shot of what you're doing. I'm going to put my email in here. And I'm going to do a quick lookup on that. And we find the name is Billy Ben for that. And that's an identifier. It shows that we have phone numbers and addresses and stuff, but to get the full identity report, we've got to pay. But the beauty of this as an open source tool is I've got a piece of information they call Billy Ben. And I have a little bit of information there, which is going to help. So this is a little piece that I'm going to download. I'm going to screenshot. I'm going to save into the folder that I have for this operation, or this work that I do, and it may be of use later. Now, the other thing with while I mentioned screenshotting and stuff, guys, and capturing things on screen, UserSearch have a free add-on to Chrome. If you go to the apps and add-ons to Chrome and look up UserSearch, there is a free forensic download screenshot app that you can add to the database, to the browser, and it timestamps it, puts your name on it, timestamps it, and it hashes. Those of you who know about hashing, it basically seals it in a property bag to do that. So we've got email Sherlock. Because of time, I'm not going to show you have I been pawned and dehashed and stuff. I'll show you have I been pawned. I'll put that in there actually. So this is a big one. If you're going to get information that is from the deep web, not the dark web, the deep web, so I'm going to stick this in. There's 8 data breaches. We've got 7 rooms. We've got the Toxica, People's Energy. Now, it doesn't give you anything other than the fact that there is a footprint of this. And Epios did the same. So there's you're up to B on ABC. So you're now backing up that data and you're looking at that and you're managing to update that as well. So we've got Canva, Online Spam Botter, Dropbox. So there's details in there. Now, to get any details above and beyond this, we're going to have to go to the likes of Dehashed and pay or have an account to look at that information. So as you can see, we've got to do all these things and separately. Now I'm just going to show you the aggregator. So this is the UserSearch database, and I'm just going to put my email address in here and do a scan, and let's do a scan on that. Do a search. And you can see here that we are getting the information. You can see if I just show you here on the database here, we've got the findings on the right-hand side here. And the beauty of this is, yes, you can get this information manually. You can use the tools like I just showed you, but you saw me do them individually. So the footprint is massive. And if you've got time critical, it's difficult. This has found 54. Basically, while this is doing, I'll just explain to you, UserSearch looks at over 8,000 websites and 20 other aggregators all at once. And as we look at this, you'll see here, we have to wait for it to stop searching. But you can see in here that we've got Gravatar, we've got Pipple, we've got Epios, we've Predictor, ProtonMail searches, scam searches, OSIN Industries. It's done all those searches. Now, if we just have a quick look on here, you will see there's the links to the breaches that we have. So we've got the links in there from Have I Been Pawned? OSIN Industries found that. Even right, that's tickets. So that's me buying tickets. Let's have a look at my Spotify account. Notion account, and you start getting details here for the email and what have you. Here's my Wix account. So Wix, if you look it up, is a hosting company for websites. So it's possible I've got a website. Cora, Halfords, that's where I get my car repaired. So if you're looking to build up a digital profile, a little bit of digging in that will show that that's East London. So will Howdens, they fit in my kitchen. So we have a look at those. Let's have a look at the Apple account now. This is interesting. We're starting to get, and we get this a lot as investigators, we start to get partial phone numbers. Now that's useless unless we've got the whole phone number. And I'll come on to a tool a little bit later that will rebuild that for you and show you that number. Nextdoor app. So that's the Nextdoor app. Grammarly. New York Times. So Fitbit. Now, I try and keep up as many steps as I can to try and keep fit. And you'll see here Peter N. So we're getting the name of Peter Nelson. So we might have the name of the person that we're after. So I'll do a little bit more searching. And we've got Mark B. So we've got Peter N and Mark B. We're going to do a search on that a little bit later to try and identify who that is, if we can. Screwfix account. Have I been pawned? Twitter account. Let's have a look to see what we've got. Now you'll see the same results coming back now for Predictor and Epios. That's the ABC. We're cross-examining that. Fitbit, Strava. Let's have a look at the Strava account. There we go. Mark Bentley. So we've got Mark B, Mark, and Peter Nelson. So we've got a little bit of work to do with that, but it's one search. Now, what you do here is you bookmark them. And once you bookmark them, you'll see that we can then bookmark these and save them in our machine. So it actually does the whole thing. It saves everything. I'm going to show you a better tool in UserSearch to complete reports on this. So as we found this, you saw me do 4 searches for an email, and so that in reality, I would have done 40, and I'll give you the list of those tools or possibility of applying for the password for those tools at the end. So we've got this, we've got the dates, we've got the usernames, we've got everything in there as well. Let's have a look at Notion. I'll click on that just as a last thing, not much in there. New York Times account. This is where I do my Sudoku. So we're actually, you know, when I talk about the jigsaw pieces, we're building that up quite a lot. So one search. So that's the beauty of this, that you can actually do a single search for that. So you can see the difference between the two. You can see what the difference is between those different entities. Okay, let's get back to the slides. Okay, so I'll just check on sharing the correct screen with you. Yes, there we go. So we're back on the main slides, and you've got to think about the different ways that we've got to do this and the time consuming. So now we're going to talk about mobile phones and cell phones. Same set of rules. We've got to do all the searches. We're going to do Epios, Truecaller, stuff like that. And you'll do the search. Let's go and have a look at those searches. White Pages, Gigsy. Gigsy is a really cool tool for, it's called Gigsy Demo. It's a parser. I'm going to show you this. We use this a lot in investigations. So let's go to screen 1. Completely free. And I'm going to look up the Gigsy tool. Oops. Just give me a second. So what I can do with this is using Gigsy, lib phone number for PHP, is a phone parser, and I can use this to do a phone parser on a phone number. I'll go directly to the page rather than using that. Here we go. Always look as an investigator for the demo version, guys. There's a paid version, but if you look for the demo version, you get the free version. Here we go. So I'm going to put my cell phone number in here, and I'm going to say UK. It's actually GB, that you put the code in there. And this is my number, GB. I'm going to do a submit. And this is where we can have a look at this. Where you get these numbers, guys, where it says true, 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 and GB, that means it's live, it's online, it's connected, and it's a real number. It's not one of these portable, separate numbers or these ghost numbers that you can get on websites like receive free SMS. So it's a real one. Now, the number type, quite often down here, it'll say mobile or it'll say something about nature. If we go down here and have a look, there's the usual ways of writing this number. What we would do, the NCA, is we would put, and investigation teams, we'd get those, copy them into Google, put them into, put a comma between them and do a search specifically on those formats. You've got to bear in mind, there's 33 different formatted ways of writing a cell phone number. So as we go down here, example numbers, you can see here, London Vodafone. And so it's that time zone. It's usually seen in that time zone. And it is for Vodafone is the network, and it's just a quick and dirty have a look-see. Now, it doesn't give you anything. It doesn't tell you the person. It doesn't, because that's private. Now, if we go to Truecaller, you might get it. If we go to White Pages, you might get it. And we have a look at these different things, and it just means that we can try and build up a picture for that. Let me just go to here and do a search. And while I click on this, I'll show you, you can see here the different things that you can search on in UserSearch. So I've got it on Vodafone, I've got it in the UK. If we do a search, a Google search on the number, you might come up. Let's have a look. So, nothing on my number. It doesn't come up. Let's change that. I'm going to give it a chance. I'm going to give it half a chance and say it's a UK number. Let's see if it comes up with anything on there. And it's not coming up with anything on there. Right, let's go back to have a look at phone on here. And again, instead of doing lots of different searches, I'm going to stick it in here and put in United Kingdom, put in my number and do a search. And it just means with an aggregator, guys, for those of you who do time-critical investigations, and you need to build it up very quickly, you go, right, okay, let's go and have a look at the phone number. And with an aggregator, with a software tool. So it's doing the searches here. You can see the usual suspects. So OSIN Industries, Predictor, and Epios coming up. There'll be some others. And behind the curtain as well, it's doing like 8,000 websites to go and have a look at this. But I just put it into Google. I know you can put it into other things. You can put it into Jibberoo, and you can put it into DuckDuckGo, and you can put it and give it a try, give it a really good try. But firstly, that's time consuming. And secondly, you're leaving a massive footprint by doing multi-searches instead of just one search. So I've just got to let the flashing dots stop so that I can have a look at the results here. So there we go. So let's have a look to see what we're coming up with. Facebook account that was used for Lyft, which is like Uber. So we've got P176. There's the cross. There's the pivot between what I did with the email, okay? Because we haven't got the full thing there, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. We haven't got the full thing there, but it's giving you a link that we can recognize. Got another one here, got another email, BE. Now, do you remember the earlier search found Mark Bentley? So I'd say that was Bentley at btinternet.com. I'd guess the asterisks of that. Let's have a look at Yango. Have I been pawned again? Here we are, Facebook. It's coming up with that. Facebook account, here we go. We've got MB. That, again, that is consistent with what we found earlier. If we use, there's a facility on here called SargeBot that is going to actually analyze these and put them all together very quickly. So Sleeper. Sleeper's not giving me much. What about Telegram account? Let's see, Peter Nelson. Okay, do you remember we had Peter N for the email? So there's your pivot again. We've got the full name now, Peter Nelson, on a Telegram account. You'll never find that. You're looking for somebody and you think they're called Mark Bentley or Peter N. You're never going to find Peter Nelson from that information, but it's giving it to you. And let's just try Truecaller, and there we go, Mark Bentley. So there's your pivot, your ABC. You've acquired the data, you've backed it up, and you've corroborated it. So, quick zoom back to the slide. So I've done those two. So we're back to the slides now. So image tools, right, okay. So do you remember I started an email, an image, and a cell phone number, a telephone number. I say cell phone number because I do a lot of work in North America with law enforcement and stuff over there. So we've got the third one that I gave you as a picture of me, and we're going to do a search on that now. Now we've got the usual suspects, Google, Lens, TinEye, Reverse Lookup, EXIF tool by Phil Harvey, really good tool. You download the tool into your machine, it searches, it automatically extracts from the logs and the changes to see if there's any EXIF data, if it's been deleted, and if there's any fragments in there. And it's called EXIF tool by Phil Harvey. Give it a try. It's brilliant. And it's very safe. And you know about all the other ones about exif extractors and what have you, just to see with that. Let's go back to do some more live searches. So we're back on the database here. So now, do you remember the picture of me in a blue top? I'm going to run that through Google Images. Now, I talk about hallucinations, and hallucinations are where you have hallucinations, and this was the picture, and you go, right, okay, I've got a picture of him. Great, let's do some facial recognition on this. So let's do a search on that. First of all, it says that it'll assume that I'm looking for clothing, and it's looking for polo tops. But I'll say, no, I'll move the pictures. Now, this is really cool with Google Lens, but you've got to bear in mind, I've just sent that picture to Google, okay? Think of that as your operational security as well. I've just sent that, operational security. When I was NCA and Met Police, the OPSEC stuff was paramount. So here we go. I've just done a search on the full face. So remember that you're sending stuff up there. So this looks like Google has shown that I am a sex offender by the name of James Donaldson. And I might be Anthony Kemp as the guy there. So let's try AI mode. Let's see if we can throw anything up with that. It's certainly not right. I'm David Sheeb. It's not saying this is possibly David Sheeb. It's saying this is. And that's a really dangerous place to be in, isn't it? When you're open sourcing, this is the hallucinations that I talked about. This is the fake and false information that comes up with. You look at this and you say, right, okay, I was arrested in Florida. And it's actually saying it is me. It's not beating about the bush here. It's saying this is David Sheeb, the sex offender. So I can run it through exif searches, and I could try TinEye. To save time, I'll tell you, TinEye comes back as no trace. This is actually a picture that was of me at an embassy for a visa to travel to another country. I had to go down the embassy and have a picture taken, and for security I couldn't submit a picture, I had to have it taken there. And this is me having that picture taken, quite stern face there, at an embassy. So it's not on the internet, so it's gone, there's some pretty close visual matches here. It's David Sheeb, it's this fraudster here. So you're getting those hallucinations. Now, TinEye comes back no trace. Search by image comes back no trace, because that picture isn't on the internet. Okay, let's just go and have a look to see what UserSearch will throw up. So I'm going to put a picture in here. I'm going to do a facial search check. Choose the image. And analyze that image and see what it throws up. Now, it's searching all the databases, and Face Check ID is searching those databases I talked about, plus others, and you can see the dot bopping at the end there. And once that settles down, it will give us the results. You can't see the results. There we go. So that picture of the embassy is, I haven't got glasses on, but if we have a look a bit further down here, you start finding the hallucinations. But can you see the score here? So what we'll do is we'll go to the highest score. And there's one here, 90%, CII Summit. That is me speaking at a conference in India on cybercrime. And it's picked me up with glasses on, a distant picture, not a great one. Also ClearTrail and LinkedIn page. So now you've got my LinkedIn page. So if we hover over that, you will see down in the bottom left, it says LinkedIn Mark B. I'm not going to click on it. If you see a hyperlink on any of these tools, it takes you outside. site. So you've got to have a VPN running or a VMware or something to protect you when you go to these. Also, as an investigator, we identified when I was at the National Crime Agency and for a good reason, because it's a legitimate site, but as an investigator, when you go to LinkedIn, it's super aggressive to connect people. So you, like Facebook with friends requests and do you know requests, just the best way you can, if you can find an alternative to looking at those sites without clicking on them, then that's a good thing. So we've got the URL here. So we're going to go to the historic stuff. Yeah, we're going to go to Wayback Machine. Another really nice site as well. Let me just tell you about one of my favorite sites. Everybody knows about Wayback Machine, but this one, CacheView NL, it's one of my faves. So it's a way of looking at an image or a URL without going to the site. So I can put a URL in here and it doesn't go to the site. It shows you, where it shows the live one, live version, which is second from the bottom, that tells you that it is, you'll click on that, you'll go to the live version. So all the algorithms and stuff will kick in and the friends requests and do you know. But it gives you all the others there. So you put something in there and it will give you, if it goes green, they've got a copy. So you go to any of them bar the live version and you can see something without visiting the site. It's brilliant. So let's go and do this. We've got the pictures here. We've got CII Summit for me, and that was deep web investigations that I was doing. And we've got the analysis of the picture there. And what you can do with this, you can do an image search there and it'll search on everything. It'll search on Google Lens. It'll search on absolutely everything. The reason why I didn't do that is because this is a webinar. If this is so powerful, this one here to search on everything actually brings up pictures that are of a sexual nature as well, where they do the facial recognition, but there's pictures in there or thumbnails of a sexual you know, they go to Chatterbait and other sex sites. So whilst I can't show you that because it's an open webinar, if you click on that, you will see those. So if you work in investigations and you're allowed to look at stuff like that, it will occasionally throw it up. Now, it might not with this, but I'm not going to take that chance. Okay. So you can see, you can do a search very quickly with an aggregator like this, and we get the accurate ones here. The other ones didn't find me, said I was a pedophile from Florida. Now these are coming up with ones, and you can do the analysis with that. Let's just go back to the slides. I'm conscious of the time. Okay, we're back on the slides. So EXIF tool, reverse lookup. Now, as you know, a lot of sites will not have EXIF data in them. They strip them out, and it's a subpoena or a mutual legal assistance treaty, MLAT, with an international letter of request if you're law enforcement to go and get that information. It can take 3 to 6 months, and it's a gentleman's agreement, and they don't always guarantee they'll give you the result for that. So we look at this. Now, there's a really good site as an investigator, guys, bookmark TOSDR, Terms of Service Didn't Read. Instead of looking at Google or Facebook's or whoever's or Twitter's Terms of Service, 140 pages, 180 pages, whatever, it condenses, TOSDR condenses the things into manageable, readable lists so that you can think, right, what is the operational security around this? What's the OPSEC problems or leaks that we're going to experience using this? And TOSDR, and I've put on the slide here just the things that take place with Google. It's Class E, which is they raise critical user right concerns, pervasive tracking, automatic profiling. Now, this site isn't bad-mouthing Google. This site, TOSDR, goes and looks at the terms and conditions and quotes them. If you go to TOSDR It's tosdr.org, and it quotes them. So it's not making anything up and saying, oh, these are really bad. It's actually saying, no, these are in the terms and conditions. So bear that in mind, that it's actually giving you that. So it's in their terms and conditions, and then they rate it based on its safety. So think about that when it comes to operational security, or using an aggregator where it's an SSL link into a server somewhere, and it's essentially one search of 8,000 websites instead of a number of searches on different platforms that are watching what you're doing, because they have to make money. I'm not criticizing them. You know, they have to make money and they have to capture what you're doing. And when I'm at home and I'm doing searching on my iPad and I'm looking for cheap flights to a certain place in the world or to Florida or whatever, I want the algorithms to say, right, let's start putting banner adverts on there for cheap flights to Florida. I want that because I want to save money. But operationally, you've just got to think the rules are slightly different. Okay. So if you reach out to me at the end of the course, I created a database of tools, and it's called Trace Tools. It's password protected. That's actually for GDPR. So if you'd like them, reach out to me. I'll send you the password. It's 20 years of curated tools. Just to give an example, this is the page here. You can see we've got searching tools, social networks, we've got network interrogation, all that sort of stuff. These are all free or free trial tools, and really useful tools. There's about 2,000 in there. And just as an example, the one I just showed, we're looking at pictures and images. That is the sort of thing that comes up, and you can click on those links and go to them and have a look at them. That's a third of what I've got in there, but if I showed you the full list, you wouldn't be able to read it. So that's just the one for images. And if I've done them, if I've looked at them and I've put them on my website, basically I've checked to see how safe they are and see if they're operationally safe. And as an investigative tool, it's really, really useful. There's a couple of things at the bottom out of site there, which are dark web, deep web, Tor, that sort of stuff, and then other databases. So you're very welcome to reach out to me for that. Okay. Bottom line is you're doing some open sourcing and it's time consuming. You've got a time critical investigation. You have to do those searches. I've given you some tools. I've given you access to the database, and you're just going to reach out to me for that password, and you can get into the database of my tools. I'm very happy to give that to you because you're all investigators listening to this, and it'll make your life a lot easier. But please bear in mind that that comes with the fact that I'm going to give you 40 email searcher tools, really obscure ones, really powerful obscure ones you've never heard of. But that's 40 footprints and 40 searches and 40 results that you've got to put together and do an amalgamation of. And look at that. So rather than using an aggregator where you can actually do it all in one go and you can do it semi-hidden. I'm never going to say to you you're completely hidden, and no aggregator or software tool that is on the market can give you 100% guarantee for that because of the dynamics of how it all works. But you can certainly be very safe, and you've reduced your digital footprint to an absolute minimum. So let me just take you on to a really useful part of UserSearch. So, sorry, I clicked on the wrong one. Just give me a second. Okay. So with UserSearch, these are the things that you can do. I'm not going to, this isn't about UserSearch. This is about good operational security, tradecraft, and good practice, and getting the most you can as quickly as you can. But I've got to tell you about stuff like this because it's so quick and it's so efficient. Now, you can see here all the things that you can search on: public leaks, emails, usernames. What if we've got, and do you remember earlier in this, I gave you a a result which showed partial results. So it said it ends in, so I had two. I had, we've got Mark Bentley or Peter Nelson, and we've got the ending 5118 or 18. Those were the two of the results that came back. And you'll see here, this with the searches here, what I can do is I can use Claude. This is built into the system. It's built into UserSearch. I can use Grok, Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, can you search on this email for me? So if you just put in Mark Bentley or the email address and 5118, you're not going to get a result. I can tell you that now. You can do it after the webinar, and you can try that, and I can tell you that for certain. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to do a search, and these are the legal stuff to say use it properly, don't do anything naughty with it, and you say I accept that. And I'm now doing a search on the email and saying, have you got a connection with 5118 at all? So it'll go through this and it'll say, yep, do you want us to run them? And I'm going to run them. Now, this is the private version of these. So you're not sending this data up to third parties. And we just have to go through a little bit of protocol there, and you'll see the search is taking place. It takes a couple of minutes. So with this, it's SSL encrypted into the server. You're doing these searches. You're not going to the websites. It's pulling it together, and it's going to analyze that data for you. And it's going to look at that data and do the analysis for you. So some of you out there might have other analysis tools that are out there, and things like i2 and what have you. You've got to download each of your results and stick them in, or you do this. And what I can do at the end of this is say, give me a report. Give me an analysis report on this. So it's doing all these searches on there, but it's doing a cross-reference. Remember the pivot I talked about, ABC? It's doing the cross-reference to say, can we make a connection with this? I can put the picture in as well, and it'll come up and say, we think that that is Mark Bentley and what have you. But I'm just going to do this one because I'm conscious of the time. So I'm saying, yes, I want the report, and do the search, do the cross-referencing, and yeah, a couple of minutes. So while it's doing this, I'll talk about what we've gone through so far. So we've got the pivots, we've got the three things that I showed you. I was recently doing a course in country with a national security unit, and they said we just have a username and a phone number, and no details. And we've been looking for this guy for 4 months. They agreed to give the details to me because I'd sworn in at that organization, so I was security cleared, and we ran it through. And we actually did an exercise for an hour, and we couldn't come up with anything. And then in front of them, I put in the details that we had into UserSearch and then into SargeBot, which is what we're using now. And 2 minutes, found out who he was, found out all the connections, found out the pivots and the ABC. So we corroborated and confirmed and backed up the information, and then did a report on it. And it took 2 minutes. In total, realistically, it took 10 minutes. And we identified everything about it. We even identified associated people with that person, such as his children, and found out the school that they went to. So now we've got a focal point for investigators to put a surveillance team at that school and see where the kids go home. And then we find out where they are. And that took less than 10 minutes. And they've been looking for this person for 4 months. So that's how far-reaching it is. Now, guys, here we go. We're almost coming to an end here. And I'll just have a look at this. It's doing all the searches. If we just go back up to the top of this, and it says it's confirmed that the full value of the data relating to that is of that number there. So let's assume, do you remember at the start of this search I did here, I said that it was Mark Bentley and the end of the number. I didn't give SargeBot the full number. So I pushed it a bit to say, can you try and find the full number for this? So yes, with your traditional open source, you may find that full number somewhere after maybe a day's worth of searching and trying to cross-reference and then putting it into I2 and doing an analysis and that type of thing. Or it finds it and it says it's confirmed, appears in the data. We've got, and here's the pivot, here's the ABC. We've got 1.8, we've got 1.18, we've got 5.118. It's consistent, consistent, consistent. And then it's consistent with somebody called Mark Bentley. And there is your different things. There is an anomaly, and it says Peter N. Peter Nelson. It's saying there's an anomaly here. It's Mark Bentley, but it appears that this anomaly may be a sock puppet fake name that person is using. Then we're getting in London, so we're starting to drill down to where that person is. If I had more time to show you, and one of the webinars we're going to do in the series will be geolocation. I'll be able to show you how you can pinpoint who I am and where I live. And then you've got the breach exposures, which we saw. There's a free cycle on there. There is another sock puppet username for me. I use free cycle, and I created the name Nacho Libre as my username there. So now you've got another username to go back to a username search like name check and do a search on that and see if that tallies up as well. So you can see, and now I can say, please create an exportable and what it'll do is it'll create a report. And you've got to bear in mind that there are problems with AI. Okay, you know there are problems. I've shown you the problems. I'm a Canadian pedophile, and it actually said I am that guy. That picture is that guy. So we need something to be able to, in the behind the curtain, to say, can you have a look at all this? Very quick time critical investigation. Can you have a look at this stuff very quickly and sort it out for me? So it's just doing that. While it's doing that, I'm going to flick back to the slides because I'm conscious of the time. And we're back on the slide. So think about using an aggregator like UserSearch because it reduces your footprint. It hides most of what you're doing. None of them hide everything, but it's amongst the top ones that do. And it will analyze. So it actually has that built into it as well. And you're talking about minutes. As I say, it took us 2 minutes to identify the guy for the national security unit I was working with a few weeks ago, and 10 minutes to actually identify where he lived because of his family footprint and people connected to that. And they looked for him for 4 months. So here we go. So we'll have a look at the report. And here's the report. And it gives an objective view. You can also use the intelligence yardstick and put that in and say, give me a rating, and it'll rate it 80 to 90%. It says, yeah, London, guys in London. Then we're getting usernames, different usernames, stuff like that, anomalies. So it's actually saying there's a poor mishmash of data for another number, and there's a number, a dehashed account with a number there, a 33 number. That was a number I used on a website, which was a temporary website number. Oops, sorry. Let me just change this over. Sorry, I forgot to change it over. So now, this is all you missed. I did a search and I've done an exportable record of everything there. Now, if I cut out all the talking I did for that, how long did that take? Minutes to get to this point. And the cross-reference. And if I stuck a picture in that, it'll cross-reference that as well. Okay. Final slides. Don't forget to reach out to me for password for the search tools, trace tools. And this is the one I did. This is the challenge, and all we had a username and a photo, and we identified him within minutes. And within 10, 15 minutes, we actually identified where he was living. And the National Security Unit were able to apprehend that person. That's how quick it's used. We used UserSearch when I was National Crime Agency, and it was in its earlier form, which wasn't as powerful as it is now. Got to bear in mind, I work with UserSearch and look at the database and say, can we add this? Can we change that? Can we remove that? It doesn't work. Can we change this? So it's adapting all the time. And they're also adding more tools to it constantly, all the time. Okay. So SargeBot, the demo I just gave you, full report, gives you all the information very quickly, and they're the private versions of the AI programs. And it doesn't give you false. It'll say, oh, I found something that's an anomaly. Not like, you know, we rely on things like Google Images and what have you, and you saw how bad result that came back on my photo. Okay. We've got upcoming webinars. I've agreed with the guys at UserSearch to do a whole series of them. If you want to reach out and say, could you do a webinar on this? If I get enough people asking, like email header or searching on the dark web without getting in the dark web, then let me know and I'll do a session on that. The session we're going to do isn't a sales pitch for UserSearch. It will be instructional videos for investigators using the best tools and using the most appropriate tool and the time efficient tool for that. So we're going to be covering all sorts of stuff here, guys. So keep an eye out for that. If you haven't subscribed, if you've just subscribed to this but not subscribed to UserSearch, please do so. You'll get the newsletter from the guys every month, and it will give you the dates and the link to register for those free webinars. Okay, last slide, guys. If you want to reach out to me at all, I've got a UserSearch email the guys kindly gave me, Mark Bentley at usersearch.com. Reach out to me. The QR code that you can see is a one-to-one if you want to have a chat with me privately about the facilities there, or open source tools separate to UserSearch, let me know. Or you could even reach out to me and say, Mark, you're not giving me why you're searching and what you're doing, but you say, Mark, is there a tool that does this with Snapchat and this because I'm trying to achieve this? And then you're not breaching your policy in your organization, but I can help you with that. I've got so many tools in my head, I can help you with that. We've got the series coming, and if you want to reach out to UserSearch directly, talk to them about the teams and the case management system that they offer and any offers, and they may even give you an offer on a trial of the platform so that you can have a trial of it for free. Just reach out, guys. There's lots of ways of reaching out there, and I will, let's move that so you can see the QR code. You can see the link there. Reach out to me, email me, or set up a one-to-one, and we'll have a chat, and we'll chat about, and if it's a sensitive chat, we'll sign NDAs, and we can have a chat about how best to do this stuff. Okay. I think that's it. Yeah. Okay, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. I hope you found it helpful. Keep an eye out for the series coming up, and happy hunting.